¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Thursday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Thursday evening. How's it going, Echo Resto Dragon? Howdy, howdy, everybody. Ooh, I almost messed that one up. Woo. Thankfully, nobody saw that. Right, chat? We have quite the amount of things to go through today. I think.
Look, it's me.
Saw what? Nothing. Exactly. Exactly.
Can we determine how?
All right, folks. I think I have some of this lined up. I will admit it is a little bit more difficult sometimes to get stuff settled. Especially when I'm at work. Did you hear Ivana Trump died? Holy yikes. Wait, Ivana is the wife, right? Ivana's the ex-wife, correct? Yeah? Okay. She was the first wife and 73 years old. Gotcha. Wow. Yeah, I'm seeing that. Heart issue? Wow. Well, and then in Trump news, probably Trump will announce in September of 2022 if it actually happens. Yeah, I'm actually gonna go through that. But who knows? How do I close this? Jesus. There we go. On Twitter, Republicans admit Biden is healthier than Trump. Well, former President Trump's ex-wife Ivana Trump has passed away at 73. Oh, it doesn't say what she passed away from. For some reason, I could have sworn I read heart complications, but... All right. Here's the good meme. Republicans in the Senate have blocked the Democratic proposal to protect people's ability to cross state lines to seek an abortion, with one senator saying the proposal would encourage abortion tourism and will help fly in abortionists. Yeah, none of your business.
Mr. President, recently the Supreme Court righted a historic injustice, and it was clearly written in the opinion by Justice Alito. It said this is to return the power to the people, return the power to the people's elected representatives.
No.
Instead of 9 men back in 1973 in black robes to decide this very important issue. He said the people should decide the right parameters to protect moms and their babies from the violence of abortion.
From the violence of abortion. Yes. The very violent act of taking what? A pill? A very violent act of, like, a minor medical procedure. Abolish God. True.
And rather than use this opportunity to protect life, very soon the Senate Democrats will try to pass a very...
But you don't care about protecting life at all.
very extreme abortion bill.
The only thing that's extreme is your ideology.
Remember how extreme our colleagues have become on the other side of the aisle on the issue of abortion.
Republicans, what happened to free will? They never cared about it. What about the life of a 10-year-old that had to go to another state? Jim Jordan would have you say that that's fake news. It never happened. And tried to delete tweets about it. Here, I'll show you. They don't care about victims. They don't care about kids. I made a scary connection. They should check the Montana's water. Something funny in it. This dude's acting weird. What do you think? What do you mean? Oh, I was joking. Couchman, howdy. Here is Jim Jordan, who thought that what? You were just gonna delete this tweet and nobody was gonna notice? First of all, the Washington Examiner, absolutely, gross on the Washington Examiner. Shame on them for not finding, like, for not taking 5 seconds to verify this story. This is what right-wing news is about. Seriously. The Washington Examiner says that Dave Yost, his office has not found any evidence of a 10-year-old rape victim in the state who, according to a report cited by President Biden, was 6 weeks pregnant and traveled to Indiana to have an abortion. This story happened. This story actually happened. Jim Jordan, because of course Republicans do not care about kids, do not care about pro-life anything, just tried to signal boost it, saying it's a quote another lie. Anyone surprised? And then of course deleted that tweet. But yeah, that's not going away. Embarrassing, yeah. What a disgusting human being. But the connection is, have you noticed a lot of right-wing websites look like they were made for free webs and GeoCities? Well, I learned that 162 million Americans connect to the internet on less than DSL speed, so even with terribly slow internet, the far-right website will still load. God damn, that's fucking genius. Alright, return. Okay, hey, listen, folks. Listen, the left... Enough of this fancy stuff, alright? We've got to return to Monk, okay? Okay? We've got to return to Monk. Okay? We've got to return to HTML 1.0. HTML 1.0, okay? No pictures. As little images as possible. No videos, nothing. We need to left view GeoCities style, or at least have a page. That's true. I agree. Unironically though, Pirate Ninja, that's a pretty interesting thought now that you brought it up. Yeah, no CSS, back to 240. That's right. You know, there might be something to that. Actually unironically. Because it makes sense, right? Jim Jordan is being Trump's possible VP? No, I don't think so. But then no YouTube and Twitch? That's right, no YouTube, no Twitch, okay? Just this, alright? Hold on. Where the heck? Just a straight, small website, okay? That's what we're gonna do, alright? No, it actually really does make sense. No JavaScript, nothing. These anti-abortion Republicans are effed in the head. Well, they're Republicans, so yeah. Anyways, yeah, these folks still think that they're deleting this is gonna save them. Nah. Nah. uh, what a horrible human being. Anyways, getting a little sidetracked here.
Want to codify the ability to abort babies up until the moment of birth.
This is a straw man. There's no such thing. Abortion should be available at as accessible as possible. Because there will be, even if it's 0.001% of abortions, where a late-term abortion is going to be necessary to save the mother's life. There's going to be situations like that, so we need to be able to offer these procedures and be able to save that person's life. Yeah, go fuck yourself. Yeah.
In fact, we've seen my colleagues across the aisle reject trying to protect babies that were born alive.
Shut up. You don't give a shit about babies. Yeah.
As a result of an abortion. It's chilling. This bill that's going to be presented does nothing to help pregnant moms in crisis or their unborn babies. This bill, as we've been looking at it, which has been hastily put together in the last 48 hours.
Please keep in mind that the bill that he's referring to is a bill to reaffirm the ability to travel freely. That's it.
This bill would give fly-in abortionists free reign to commit abortions on demand.
There's not committing abortions. That sounds like a crime. That's a negative connotation to it. No. They are having abortions. They're having a medical procedure, and you are free to move about in this country as a citizen if you wish to cross state lines. Fly in, yeah.
Up to the moment of birth, and even, it seems, perform them within a state with strong pro-life laws. This bill also protects the greed,
no such thing as pro-life.
frankly, of woke corporations who see that's cheaper to pay for an abortion and abortion tourism than maternity leave for their employees.
Oh, okay, so you're gonna propose, of course, next, a bill guaranteeing maternity leave, right? That naturally, that's what you clearly that's what you're signaling, right? So hey, let's have a vote. You know what the Dems should be doing right now? The Dems should be putting up maternity leave and being like, hey, you know what? You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. Let's guarantee maternity paid maternity leave to everybody for 3 months or something like that. Yeah, that counts for both. That counts for both. Let's get some parental leave on the books. Do you think this guy is gonna vote for that? No. Do you think this guy's gonna vote for funding for like school lunches, any social programs to benefit kids? Do you think this guy's gonna vote for that? No way. 250K in the US, so outlawing abortions like imposing a 250K fine and 18 years. Yep. Let's make a bill about vasectomies for men over 45. What? No. Vasectomy should be mandatory for men all the way up until age 25. And then they have to have a written request to undo the vasectomy by their partner. So that's the rule.
We must reject this radical legislation.
The only radical ideology here is you.
That will endanger pregnant mothers.
How?
And endanger their babies.
How?
I yield the floor.
Yeah, what a freaking clown. Reject and turn to abortion monk. True. Hey, Thundera, how's it going? Absolute clown. The bill from Nevada Senator Catherine Masto came in response to moves by a Republican that states stop people from traveling to seek abortions following the Supreme Court's ruling last month, overturning the right to access the procedure nationwide. Democrats attempted to get the Senate to pass the measure unanimously, but Republicans refused to do so. Yeah, I mean, like, really, you are free to move around this country, across state lines. That's like the whole thing. You mean like men like Trump who act as if he's president, constant campaigning? Yeah, but that's the Republicans. That's all the Republicans are. That's a good meme. If it was up to Republicans, they would keep you in those states. They would keep you in. They would lock you in. They would use the power of the state to prevent you from leaving. Because they're authoritarian fucks. That's why. Alright, we gotta talk about this. Hold on. Holy yikes. Hey, look! Everybody! It is a good friend of the channel and a wonderful person, the Beckosphere. Yes, the one and only. That's right. Here we are. Folks, please. Take a second. Take a second to hit that follow button on the Twitch channel, okay? All right. Well, welcome. I hope you're doing all right. Don't worry, we got the daily news queued up here. All right.
Asking Democrat is leading as
There we go. This is what I want. Check this out, folks.
No.
Yes.
There's an issue with the
Unbelievable.
player. We're being shadow banned. No, it's all right. Just we'll the video should load shortly. There we go.
All right.
Transportation to Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, other key Trump supporters, including far-right media personalities, began promoting the wild protest on January 6th.
It's Saturday, December 19th. The year is 2020. And one of the most historic events in American history has just taken place. President Trump, in the early morning hours today, tweeted that he wants the American people to march on Washington, D.C. on January 6th, 2021.
Also, don't forget to buy my new Alpha Brain male enhancement thing, buy it at alexjones.com.
And now Donald Trump is calling on his supporters.
All right, pause it for a sec.
Washington.
So this, you could just leave this up, Dorsey. Look at the little chyron and how Tim Pool is identified there. It's no longer center-left Tim Pool. Pro-Trump YouTuber. I appreciate the January 6th committee, like, calling a spade with...
Yeah, that's the funniest meme. I love that he was labeled just a Trump-supporting YouTuber. Not one of the massive political like commentators that span millions and millions and millions of people. Just another YouTube supporter. Trump supporting YouTuber. Alex Jones' website is a perfect example of what I was talking about. Oh, do I even want to look at it? Oh my god. Breaking. Sickening Democrats send 69-year-old grandmother to federal prison for being in D.C. on January 6th. Probably I'm gonna have to fact check that, but that's the first story I see on InfoWars. Globalism 101. Well, I mean, the Alex Jones website isn't that bad necessarily for like a news website. I mean, truly riveting stuff on InfoWars. Truly breaking the barrier with reporting. It's super simple. Yeah. It's pretty simple. I mean, like, this is the one that I had. This is the one that I had back.
The moment has finally come.
Oh.
When yours truly...
Hold on, shut up, Tim. This is the one that I had, except I haven't done any work on this for, like... Look, the last post was a YouTube video from 2020, right when the pandemic was about to hit. Like that was my original like idea too. It would load well on some machines like Mima and Peepaw's computers. True. January 6th committee is just entertainment at this point. I don't think anyone's getting in actual trouble. I don't know. I wouldn't hold my breath, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't know. You're right. Most likely the best, what is it? Expectation is that there's no consequences whatsoever, for, you know, casually attempting to overthrow, democratic norms.
That, because that is exactly who, that is...
Calling on we, the people, to take action and to show our numbers.
Yeah, so that's what, they took from that tweet, which obviously makes sense. That's what Trump wanted.
We're going to only be saved by millions of Americans moving to Washington, occupying the entire area, if necessary, storming right into the Capitol. You know, we know the rules of engagement.
What? They're not even any new information. It's just confirming what we already knew. That's true. It could be used by the Justice Department in the future to criminalize. Yeah, of course. If they so choose to want to act on the obvious numerous amount of crimes being done here, yeah, they could. But I wouldn't hold my breath.
If you have enough people, you can push down any kind of a fence or a wall.
This could be Trump's last stand. And it's a time when he has specifically called on his supporters to arrive in D.C. That's something that may actually be the big push Trump supporters need to say, this is it. It's now or never.
You better understand something, son. You better understand something. Red wave, bitch. Red wave. This is going to be a red wedding going down January.
Do I even have to comment on that? The new info is just how much Trump knew about it. Like, it wasn't a fluke. No, it was not. Like, people think that there was some aspect of spontaneity to it. But the more information we have, the more information we look and find and have and see with the January 6 hearings, the more we come to the realization that it wasn't as spontaneous as it seemed.
January 6th.
On that day, Trump says, show up for a protest. It's gonna be wild.
This is a, by the way, Fox News headline.
And based on what we've already seen from the previous events, I think Trump is absolutely correct.
Motherfucker, you better look outside.
I'm absolutely correct. I think the only new things are actual like text. Yeah, like the connection between everything is what's, I mean, it was a failed coup. Yeah, it was an insurrection.
You better look out. January 6th. Kick that fucking door open. Look down the street. It'll go.
This was on YouTube. This was on YouTube. The idea that all the intelligence agencies dropped the ball when we've got people like, I kid you not, MAGA Fett and Tim Pool and Alex Jones all saying, you know, we're going to coalesce on this date. I mean, Jesus. They're so scuffed. Yeah, this guy has some like premium leftist audio over here. Like, you thought leftist or socialist audio was bad? Jesus. The Beckosphere subscribing with a tier 1. Jesus, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you. MAGA Fett, yes. MAGA Fett.
Gonna be 1 million plus geeked up armed Americans.
The time
Geeked
for
up
games.
armed Americans. Jesus. Thank you for the effing mic, man. No problem. I'm glad you're getting use of it. That's what Trump lost. The Twitter account on January 6th. Yes, for inciting violence or whatever. Sounds like my family reunion. Jesus.
Is over. The time for action is now. Where were you when history called?
Where were you?
Where were you when you and your children's destiny and future was on the line?
And don't forget to buy Alpha Brain. These ads. Ah.
So that's just like some of the talk that clearly, I mean, if you know anything about the right wing in this country, their media apparatuses and their politicians and their organizations are very much integrated.
Did Alex Jones end up paying the Sandy Hook families? I have no idea. Where were you when the Alpha Brain kicked in? How does Alex Jones even have a raspy, and even have a voice with how he talks? I don't know. I think that's just his natural voice. Because if I try to do it, it hurts. Some people just have naturally like raspy voices. It's kind of like how, you know how some grunge singers and, well, maybe like punk also have kind of like a raspy distortion to their voice that they can do naturally. Generally speaking, those folks have a more natural way of doing it. It's just the way some people's voices are. I mean, you could try to emulate it, but it won't be the same. He's still contesting it? Oh my goodness. Well, actually, Alio, that is the one thing that's as close to the truth that Alex Jones has ever gotten to. That's actually the closest thing resembling truth that Alex Jones has actually gotten to. It turned out that there was some chemicals that were being dumped in the water, and it was actually messing with the frogs because, as you know, frogs can, I think certain frogs or all amphibious folks can switch depending on the composition of the water or something like that, because they were tossing chemical in the water. It was messing with the frogs. Yes, the water was poisoned. Yes, I mean it's the exact story details are kind of hazy in my brain, but it's something to the fact that the chemicals that they were dumping in the water were actually messing with the frogs. Yes, that was the closest thing that Alex Jones has ever had to actually remotely in the ballpark of being true. Yes. Oh man, you know what? Here. Okay, here we are. So when I googled it, it's something to this effect of the atrazine, one of the world's most widely used pesticides, wreaks havoc with the sex lives of male adult frogs, emasculating 3/4 of them and turning 1 in 10 into females, according to a study by University of California, Berkeley biologists. Yeah, so basically it's obviously, you know, if you mess with the water, especially with like amphibious and fish, it messes with them. That's all. That's all it was. I wonder if you noticed that the dominant male clownfish switches to a female in the absence of females. Yeah. But that's where this came from, by the way. What is up? Howdy. Alex Jones gets so close to the right conclusion and drives the thought bus to the other side of town. Not even. Everything that he talks about is mostly conspiratorial nonsense. But this is as close to the truth that he's gotten. This is about as close. That's
Tim Pool was featured by the
Stop it.
And working in tandem with one another. And so, like, that is why that is instructive, because of just the way that all of those, like, right-wing tentacles intersect. I mean, Alex Jones has a relationship with Roger Stone. Roger Stone has a relationship with Donald Trump and members of the Trump administration.
Right. Okay, so that was the clip, right? The whole point was to show the clip. And here we have Tim Pool responding to it.
The moment has finally come. When yours...
The moment has finally come where I might actually have to be honest and tell people what I really am, which is basically a Trump supporting YouTuber. Yes. Yes, Tim, tell us. Tell us how you're gonna be honest with your audience. Yeah, but I even don't like the kind of framing when it comes to that, because like it always has some weird connotation to it, you know? Like I try not to use things like that or paint it in that much of in that picture, because of course the wrong people will get the idea. I always just found it weird, you know?
Truly, Tim Pool was featured by the January 6th committee. I was wondering if I was ever going to be famous enough to make their silly little sham hearing.
First of all... oh man, talk about poisoning the well here. No, it's not really a sham hearing. You can call it a sham all you want. You can disregard all the evidence, all the testimony that are under oath, by the way. all the emails and text messages and communications. You can disregard that and call it a sham all you want. It doesn't change the reality of things, which is what I was arguing with our friend yesterday.
The January 6th committee, mind you, is a non-adversarial hearing where people just lie, make things up, and apparently it's treated as fact.
So he's just making vague accusations in an attempt to either divert or poison the well. Who's lying? How? Because if you lie and if you're caught lying, that's perjury, my friend. That's perjury. If you're lying under oath to Congress, that's perjury. That's a crime. So if you've got proof of that, hey, by all means, show it to us. If you've got proof of that, of people lying under oath, by all means, show it. Of course, he never will, because it doesn't exist.
Let me give you the lowdown, my friends. I get a text message, and they're like, I couldn't help but notice that, you were on the January 6th hearing. And I was like, wow, what did the Democrats trying to stop Trump from running in 2024, what did they say about me?
What? The Dems are... The entire purpose of the January 6th hearings is to stop Trump from running? There's nothing that's going to stop him from running, unless, he did a crime. And that's kind of a him problem, right? You want to straighten all this out? Show up to Congress and testify under oath, buddy. That's right.
And apparently nothing. It's literally nothing from me. The craziest thing.
Oh, the craziest thing is just me. It's just me adding my voice to millions of people who listen to me and who think I'm somehow a legitimate political thought leader or pundit or whatever. Listen to me, and I told them and signal boosted that message to go on January 6th. But I didn't do anything.
They're trying to make it seem like these prominent pro-Trump YouTubers were pouring fuel on the fire or...
Yes. Yes. Listen, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody to light the house on fire. I mean, all I did was talk about on my Prime YouTube channel over and over and over again about how awesome fire is. And I don't know, I just left some matches around and I didn't do anything. I actually never did anything. And now they're trying to smear me? Yeah, he did several. Dak Apollyon, resubscribing for 10 months. Jeez. Hi, howdy. Hello.
Or whatever. Oh, poor babies. Listen, in the United States, we have a right to a First Amendment.
Aha, there it is, folks. I have a right to a First Amendment. Look, so what if I said what I did? It's free speech, bro. So what, dude? Of course I can tell people about how awesome fire is, and of course I can talk to people about how matches work. I can also tell the people, it is within my First Amendment right to tell people how flammable gasoline is. But you want to blame me for the fires? Jeez. Skill set required for right-wing commentary, projecting all your unpopular behavior and ideals to multiple platforms for at least 24 hours straight and 8 hours a day for at least 30 consecutive days, and then get paid. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom of consequences. That's true. But, like, yeah, exactly. You bear responsibility, dude. That's the problem. That's the problem. The disconnect here is that he doesn't want to take any responsibility for what he's done. That's it.
And in that First Amendment, I can read the news. Our good friend Saul.
I can read the news and comment and tell people to be there at January 6th and continue to make, constantly videos about the Civil War and all this other stuff, and even entertaining ideas that the election may or may not have been kosher, but I'll just, keep plausible deniability. And of course, remember, I'm a radical centrist. Who does things who does videos like this.
Salty Cracker was getting played as well. His is a bit more edgy and funny than mine. But the clip they show of me is literally me like, Fox News has reported that Donald Trump says there will be a wild protest on January 6th.
Yeah. Sure, that's it. That was the issue, Tim.
More information at 8 p.m. at Timcast IRL. I love it. I'm like, come on. There's tons of other things you could have pulled out of context, like me quoting someone. This is what's funny about it. These people are like, oh, they showed you, Tim. Oh, you were right. Okay, here's the story. There was a Fox News article. Donald Trump says the protest on January 6th will be wild. That was December 19th, 2020. And I said, yeah, I think it will be, and hey, violence doesn't work.
That's not what he said. Whoa, that's not what he said. That is not what he said at all. That is not. Is he gonna actually play it?
This has long been a position that I've maintained ever since, before, going back to 20.
Wait, hold on. Instead of me talking like nonsense.
Law is dangerous.
Like, let's compare what Tim Pool's saying and what actually let's compare what Tim Pool is claiming he said to what he actually said.
No, it's all right.
Now,
December 19th, the year is 2020. And one of the most historic events in American history has just taken place. President Trump was today in D.C.
Dorsey. I paused it for a sec.
Calling on his supporters
Today tweeted that he wants the American people to march on Washington, D.C. on January 6, 2021.
Violence is bad. Okay, Tim.
And now Donald Trump is calling on his supporters.
All right, pause it
Yeah, he's lending his platform. Donald Trump is calling on his supporters.
for a sec.
Washington.
So this, you could just leave this up, Dorsey, on and how Tim Pool is identified the YouTuber. I appreciate the January 6th with that because he pretends left.
Bro, right.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, keep going.
Washington, D.C., January 6th.
He is now calling on we, the people, to take action.
You can push down any kind of a fence or a wall.
This could be Trump's last stand.
This could be Trump's last stand. What do you think is going to compute in people's minds? This could be Trump's last stand. So you better show up on January 6th. It's going to be wild. Yeah, what did you think people were going to get from that, Tim?
Time when he has specifically called on his supporters to arrive in
And he is specifically calling on his supporters to arrive. This is his last stand.
D.C. That's something that may actually be the big push Trump supporters need to say, this is it.
This is the biggest, this is it. This is the push that Trump supporters need to say, this is it. Look at the language that he's using, okay? That's not just reading the Fox News article, okay? Because if you were just reading Fox News articles, whatever, even though, like, the headline is already pretty yikesy, but that's not what he did, okay? He is actively saying that Trump supporters, people who support Trump, this is your last stance. This is your last stand. Like, as if people don't have access to the internet and can't just, like, fact check
It's
you.
long been a position that I've maintained ever since. I mean, before going back to 2011, during Occupy Wall Street, we had this thing with what was called the Black Bloc, a sect of leftist violent protesters who were violent, and the majority of us maintained
A set of violent protesters who were violent. Thanks, Tim. What?
violence was hurting the cause, was hurting the anti-establishment anti-establishment ideas and making you look like the bad guys. We even contemplated a way to try and advocate for nonviolence. And then we saw with Black Lives Matter in the George Floyd incident that they had tremendous support until they started rioting. And then they lost all of that support. So my position is, and always will be, you need political tact, strategy, but violence will hurt you. It doesn't work. I suppose maybe if the country implodes and people are fighting in the streets and you're defending yourself, sure. I mean, defend yourself. But
I mean, sure. You know, I just make Civil War videos every other week. I just make Civil War videos every other week or month. To millions of people. But sure, you know. Jesus.
Any idea of a violent riot helping your cause is just absolutely not true. Now here's the best part. They call me a pro-Trump YouTuber. Thanks,
Yes.
guys. I mean, it is true that I did vote for Donald Trump.
What? Wait. He acts as if like the label pro-Trump YouTuber is like bad. He's like, they labeled me as a Trump YouTuber? A pro-Trump YouTuber? What? How dare they? I mean, I did vote for the guy. And I did vote for the guy, and I have like videos. Ah, shoot, I lost his channel. I did vote for the guy, and there's like videos of me only playing one side. Yeah. That sounds about right, Tim. Sounds like they got it right. It kind of is getting to be bad to be pro-Trump lately. I don't know. These guys don't feel shame.
And I lean more towards Trump than the Democrats, especially. But even right now,
But I don't get it. Why they would put that label on me? I only voted for the guy, and I only lean in his favor most of the time, if not 90% of the videos that I make are specifically skewed to one side. But
I tweeted earlier today, before they even published this video about me, Ron DeSantis is better all around. But of course, they don't like Ron DeSantis either. So
because he's worse. Ron DeSantis is even more dangerous. The fact that these like faux like centrist people are fawning over Ron DeSantis, that's not a good thing. That is, man, if you think that Ron DeSantis is a good choice and is better than Trump, either your political instincts are way out of touch, or maybe you're a little bit more extreme than you'd like to let on, Mr. Tim. Mr. Poole. He is Trump with charisma. He's definitely not better. No, he's worse than Trump, yeah.
So the actual story I was preparing to do was about Elon Musk saying that Trump should hang up his hat and DeSantis should run because DeSantis is going to win. And I was going to be like, I agree, good sir, Elon Musk. But then I get a text.
Yeah. Clearly the political instincts of these people are warped or not in tune with reality, or they're quite comfortable with more extreme positions and they really like to let on and are slowly leading their millions and millions of people into a more extreme camp, accepting of a more extreme camp, like Ron DeSantis. Or, I mean, yeah, that's a possibility. You know, the clicks, the 1.3 million subs.
Text message. So I'm going to play the clip, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with J6 and Steve Bannon. Here's the gist of it. They want to smear me. They want to smear Salty Cracker. They want to smear whoever they can.
I mean, yeah. Smear implies like there's some like malicious lies being done to you. That's what smear means. It's to discredit like your public image, right? That's to smear you. And usually it involves making false or maybe half true accusations that make you look bad. So where are the lies? Can you debunk them? What part of that was a lie?
They're trying to hurt Donald Trump's chances in 2024. You know what? I don't care. I've long maintained that Ron DeSantis is substantially better than Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think these people hold more extreme political positions, and they're likely to add on like the idea. I can't fathom a world where you can't understand or see like just how dangerous this is, unless there's you're doing it on purpose. I mean, I don't know.
But Donald Trump, if he got in, I think he's more likely to fire people who need to be fired, which is why I've been like, man, it's a tough call.
Who needs to be fired? What are you talking about?
I think it's possible that Donald Trump loses. I do. I don't think it's likely, but I think there's a decent probability of it. The New York Times put out a poll showing that Joe Biden would beat Donald Trump. I think that's laughable, but far be it from me to claim I know what's going to happen, considering I was wrong about 2020 and 2018.
By wrong, this is the same guy who predicted Donald Trump would win in a 49 state landslide, right? This is the same guy. This is the same guy who would be like, yeah, Donald Trump is going to win by a 49 state landslide. Public pariah seems to be a very profitable industry. True.
I learned my lesson. What I will say about 2020 and my predictions is that I did see the growing support for Donald Trump. What I didn't see was the growing opposition. And I was surprised. I was surprised to see that the media narrative had worked so well. So I was wrong about that. I don't care if I'm wrong. Look, I'm a dude who gives his opinion on the internet after reading news stories.
Mostly right-wing stuff, yes. What? He just made some claims, whatever.
I'm not a psychic. I get things wrong. I do get some things right, and when I do get them right, I'm like, hey, look, I got that right. But let me play this video for you, show you what they're saying and why they're saying it. It's rather simple, and then we'll talk about Bannon testifying to the January 6th committee, and more importantly, Ron DeSantis will be the bulk of this segment. I want to talk about Elon Musk addressing the issue. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com and become a member.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot why I'm doing this. Go to timcast.com and become a member.
Of one of the fastest growing liars who just want to steal power. So, of course, they want to smear me. They don't like the fact that I am not far right. I am not the most...
Yes, you are.
...staunchest of Trump supporters, but I did vote.
Yeah. Biden DOD, Department of Defense, declares they will defy state law and perform abortions because the Department of Defense is probably on federal. Anyways, despite bans pushing U.S. towards civil war 2 weeks ago, folks. Jordan Peterson drops nuke on Twitter ban over and goes full beast mode. Just cleverly, remember, he's not the staunchest supporter, but he's gushing over the idea. He saw the support from Trump and didn't see the disdain for Trump, and he maintains he has a well-rounded perspective, not one-sided. Yeah, yeah. There's totally not a one-sided skew to this entire channel. How much is it a membership to the to Tim Pool? I don't know.
For the guy, fair point. I agree with him on some things. So call me what you want to call me. But they don't like the idea that what we are upstart, younger generation relative to them, at least. I mean, I'm 36, not 35. And we are here to take over. You are not the elites anymore. We are building something new. The Daily Wire is building something new. Many individuals are going to challenge that system. They don't
What? Wait, you can't simultaneously say that there's a massive wave of censorship and all this other stuff is being right-wing news and commentators are being suppressed and censored, but also we're building something. We have the largest media presence in the internet. And I mean, I reach millions of people because I'm Tim Pool. You can't simultaneously say these two things. 36 isn't exactly young. Listen. Listen to me, okay? Listen. I need you to look into my eyes. Okay? "36 is not old, okay? Or look into my eyebrows. Yeah, there you go. Look at only my eyebrows. There. Okay? Only my eyebrows. Jesus, I can't even do this bit properly. Hold on. Look, I broke my camera just to do the bit. Yeah, just look into the skull's eyes of the beanie. That's right. There we go. Best I've ever seen. I actually used to have a Zoom setup, like a Zoom, what is it? Source, but I stopped doing that. I used to have one with glasses too. That used to be funny. I think it's middle-aged? What? Oh my goodness. Okay, you must be a Zoomer. You must be a Zoomer.
like it. They don't like that you're supporting the work we do, and they can't do anything to stop us. Let me show you the clip in question.
Thank you.
Oh, here we go. I will say, for YouTube, they call him a pro-Trump YouTuber.
Yes.
Salty Cracker does a big stream on Rumble, where he's more edgy. Here's the clip from me. I love this.
Oh, he's more edgy on Rumble. I see why. Because he could, get himself banned on any other place. I wonder why. That's interesting. I need to check out this this dude on Rumble and see what he really has to say.
Trump says, show up for a protest, it's gonna be wild. And based on what we've already seen from the previous events, I think Trump is absolutely correct. Motherfucker, you better.
That was it. That was it.
No.
And then Salty comes in with the swear.
No.
Maybe you didn't hear it. I don't know. I'm gonna put a flag on the
That's
iTunes.
not it. Keep going. Go back to the one where he's like, where you're saying, you got to take a stand. This might be the Trump's last stand or something like that. Why do you want to show us your pluck eyebrows in the middle? No, I don't know. I consider anyone above 60 old. What? Average American lifespan is 78. Listen, I have a dual citizenship, okay?
Version of this. I'll have to remember to do that. That's it. Look, it's a clip of me reading Fox News on December 19th, 2020. A Fox News article that says Trump promises wild protests in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, claims it's impossible he lost. Well, I think Donald Trump is wrong. I think I underestimated the opposition.
But did you say that? Did you say that in any of that segment? No. No. What did you say, Tim? There's like 30 more seconds of this. Come on.
I think you look at the data in hindsight, and there's a lot of issues that we can challenge, like the constitutionality of mail-in voting and all that stuff. Fair.
What? No? I figured out my life cycles in 13-year eras. Currently, I'm 4 years away from middle age. Listen, I gotta shave, and then I gotta close my eyes and tell myself that I'm 21.
Point. But this is me reading Fox News. Is that what the January 6th takes as some kind of evidence of me doing anything to promote what Donald Trump was saying?
No, but you just did it. You literally just did it. You questioned, you sprinkled in you sprinkled in the idea that, well, man, I'm just, there's about the election. He sounds like a Gish Caliper. Is just sped up? It's sped up 1.25. This is why you should never get your political analysis from YouTubers unless it's me. There's a reason why people write books on this stuff rather than make edgy videos. True. Time is a social construct, and as time is the mind force of aging, I reject all social constructs. Yes, and that's why you'll live forever.
I'll tell you this. On Timcast IRL and on all of my channels, I said I was intending to go down on January 6th to see what was going on because people were planning on doing shows and things like that. And I said, okay, we can set up like a podcasting thing in a hotel. It's the
that's not what you said. That segment in question is not what you said.
Last stand. And it's a time when he has specifically...
We know the rules of engagement. If you have enough people, you can push down any kind of a fence or a wall.
This could be Trump's last stand.
This could be Trump's last stand.
Time when he has specifically called on his supporters to arrive in D.C. That's something that may actually be the big push Trump supporters need to say.
Yeah, so the implication is you should go there and you should do stuff. That's the implication there. That's not very unambiguous. To speak like the cryptosphere, you sprinkled some FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Yeah,
president,
exactly.
He was the president at the time. And then interview people who are down there. Donald Trump had a big rally and said that they were going to go peacefully march to the Capitol, and then bad stuff happened. There was a riot.
What? That's not the way it went down. That is a wild, myopic, reductive way of describing what happened there.
People were injured. Some people died at the Capitol, not police. Cops shot a lady, and it was bad.
Yes, and several other people died too. Hundreds of police officers got beat up too.
What did I say the night before? I said there's not only the night before, but several nights before. I said I was planning on going unless I think that people actually might get violent. So, yeah, when there's a video of me saying it's probably going to get wild, and I'm saying I won't go down there if people want to riot, I am not there at any of these events to support what I believe is a failing tactic. And anybody who argues that violence works is probably a Fed, which is why the night before, when that guy, what's his name, Ray Epps?
Oh, yeah. So here we have, what? This is conspiratorial. This is like tinfoil hat stuff. The implication that he's trying to make is that the feds did this. Think of it this way. We don't celebrate birthdays. We celebrate personal New Year's. Surviving 1 year in this world is a laudable achievement. Humans only have one birthday when you're born. Every year to that is an achievement which deserves its own celebration. That's a great way of thinking about it. I like that idea.
Started yelling. He wanted people to go in the Capitol. He started chanting Fed at him. Well, apparently a bunch of dumb people went in. Now, to be fair,
it wasn't just dumb people. It wasn't just dumb people. There was a clearly coordinated attempt, and there were several groups who had plans to do other stuff.
Went in the building on January 6th were let in. That's a fact. A man was actually acquitted of all charges because of the video of him being motioned in by the police. So what happens is on one side of the building, you have a violent riot. A lot of fighting, injuries. It's bad stuff. But are we going to get a hearing on the 529 insurrection? When far-left extremists tore down the barricades in front of the White House, set fire to a guard post and to the church in front of the building, trying to breach the White House, forcing the President of the United States into the emergency bunker. No hearing there, right?
What?
So by all means, please tell everyone in the world my name. Give me the chance to call out the hypocrisy and the lies.
What?
1, violence doesn't work. And to be honest, even some non-violent civil disobedience doesn't work. We saw that video of people blocking the highway, and that guy who was on parole gets arrested. Yeah, that was a failure. You want to win hearts and minds. You want to win the confidence of the people. Attacking people doesn't do that for you. It's a mistake and it's wrong.
Civility politics. This is wild.
And as I've long maintained, the people who rioted should be arrested and should be charged. Some of these people have tried claiming, oh, I was let in, and then the judge is like, there's a video of you climbing over barricades and swinging things at people. Okay, well, those people should get charged. What we see now, the January 6th committee doing what leftist grifters love to do.
There's not a single leftist in that January 6th committee. What? Yeah, I agree, James. It's crazy how someone can be on every how wrong someone can be on every statement, from swinging from being wrong about constitutionality of mail-in voting. What? To be wrong about anyone who says violence is probably a Fed. Yeah, that's also true. What, like Malcolm X, genuinely frightening that people watch this and see it as them getting informed. Yeah. The same thing happens with people like Russell Brand too. This is wild. This is wild to me.
Take my words out of context to try and smear me.
What words out of context? We saw the complete context of the video. Notice how he hasn't played the full clip yet.
But for what? Well, you see, here's the funny thing. Timcast, we get around like 50 to 60 million views every month as a network.
That's wild. That is wild that so many people... I didn't think it was that much. I thought it was like, yeah, millions, but 50 to 60 million people, or views, I should say, a month. That is wild.
During 2020, at this time, we were getting around 120 million. It was massive. Uh-oh. That's a problem. They banned Milo Yiannopoulos. They banned Laura Loomer. They banned...
Yeah. And? What does this have to do with you? And Milo Yiannopoulos was banned years ago. Yeah, for doing Nazi shit. Yeah.
Donald Trump. They didn't like people who were propping up Donald Trump and fervently supporting him.
No,
well,
that's not why they got banned.
I am no fervent supporter of Donald Trump.
That's not why they got banned. Let's be honest, Tim. He's using bots to boost his numbers. I don't know. I think people are genuinely listening to this guy. That's what's scary about it. Let's be honest. They got banned because they violated terms of service. Not because they were trying to prop up Donald Trump.
I voted for him. He has some good policies, and he's better than Joe Biden.
Okay. What policies were better? Can you name one? How was he better than Joe Biden? By what metric?
But I'm not a fan of his character, and I say that all the time. But uh-oh, now you've got post-liberal, moderate individuals. What do? They're lending a voice to people like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, too bad. If it's...
Yeah, well, too bad. Sure, like I said, this guy's way more extreme than he wants to let on. That's the problem here. That's the problem. He's trying to dance. He's trying to have his cake and eat it too. He absolutely is way more extremist than he wants you to know. And is quite comfortable with people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump. Yeah, he's a far-right operative. That's what he's become, whether he sees it or not. I don't know if the beanie's too tight on his head, but his purpose now is to be a far-right operative. That's it.
It's true, and I'll interview anybody. We had Enrique Tarrio on the show. Oh no, he's being charged with seditious...
Yes. Yes, that's a huge problem, considering that Enrique Tarrio is the head of a extremist, violent gang known as the Proud Boys. And you are okay with this. Yeah.
It's conspiracy. Look, we're a media and news company. We interview people. Larry...
Yeah, I don't know about news. Yeah, you're about as news as, like, I don't know, Fox News.
King used to interview a ton of crazy people, too. It's nonsense. We have a First Amendment right. Unless, of course, you think we don't. Then you're a fascist, as it were. Well, right now, We're hearing that Steve Bannon is going to be testifying to the January 6th panel.
Whoa, he never showed the full clip. What a dishonest little weasel. He never showed the complete clip from the January 6th hearing. What a Weasley little liar. Yeah, he was an FBI informant.
Will be interesting. And I think it's all part of the plan. Steve Bannon did not testify to the closed-door hearings, and I think it was the right move, in my personal opinion, which I'm allowed to have. And the reason is, he may get in trouble for contempt of Congress, because they take these interviews out of context. Well, the best thing they could apparently muster of me is me reading Fox News, I guess.
No. No, we saw the video.
Sure. They say that I was, fueling the flame or something like that, even though I outright said, if it gets violent, I won't go anywhere near it. And I repeatedly said people should not go if there's going to be violence. Well, too bad. Too bad. They want to smear everybody. It's not going to work. They're losing. They're losing, and the polls show it. This stuff is nonsense, and nobody cares. Who do they care about? They care about gas prices. So I see these memes, and people are like, I care about the January 6th hearings, and I'm like, uh-huh.
What are you talking about? You can care about two things at the same time. You can care about the Republican Party. You can care about the Republican Party essentially attempting to subvert democratic norms. Yes, you can very much care about that, and very much care about like the economy and how it affects you. Yes, you can do these two things. As it turns out, I do feel well, we all do, the effects of inflation and all this other stuff. And I can also say, hey, the Republican Party is completely and utterly incompatible with democracy and has attempted multiple times to overturn these results. Yeah, they take the videos, the interviews out of context. Just so he takes video out of context by skipping information. Yeah, conveniently. Yeah, he's never going to show you the other part of the video.
Do they really care about the January 6th hearings? No. Regular people care about the gas pumps. So now we've got tweets coming out. I just got one sent in from the newsroom. They're playing clips from people including Tim Pool and Alex Jones, hyping up the January 6th rally and calling for supporters to descend upon Washington for a red wedding. I never said red wedding.
No, but in the clip of that, you've got your buddy, MAGA Fett, saying just that. So yes, that quote was in there.
Or, I don't know, doesn't sound like anything I would say. It's funny how the Trump supporters can call me a bunch of slurs and say I'm a pathetic milquetoast fence sitter.
But you're not.
And the January 6th committee can just come out and be like, he's a pro-Trumper who's pouring gas on the flames.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's where we're currently at with the state of politics. From the Washington Times, Elon Musk blasts Trump criticism. Says it's time for ex-president to hang up his hat. Oh, heavens. I want to stress this point. This is the original segment that I was going to do. Donald Trump called Elon Musk a BS artist at an Alaskan rally. Elon Musk responded by saying that Donald Trump should hang up his hat and Ron DeSantis should run because it's a victory. That's a given. And it's funny because I actually agree with that. And while I'm getting ready to do a segment, I've got all the clips pulled up.
Yeah, okay, so he never actually goes into it. Great. Thanks, Tim. CBS opines Trump will announce his presidency, run to freeze DeSantis out. Trump wants to come back. I don't know. This stuff gripes me a lot. My position on it definitely sounds a bit elitist in the context of nowadays, but a big part of the problem is the fact that the internet and globalization has now empowered random people to assume a position of informedness, which is completely false. They haven't trained to actually know what informed means in an academic setting. So don't go through normal rigors, which means you get nonsense like this all the time and it spreads everywhere. Yeah, because it's under the guise of I'm a people's man. I'm just a normal dude. Yeah, Tim Pool has choices to make. The choice that he's going to do is the one that fills him up with more views and money. If you really care about gas prices, nationalize the effing oil industry and filter out all the price gouging. Yeah, but they won't. They'll never agree to that. Anyways, I was hoping to get a intellectually honest response from Tim Pool here, but never materialized. Also, a way to shame them, you could just yell at the crazy guy in town square and make him stop, but the internet is different. True. Alright, let's get into some real stuff, alright?
Can we determine how much top carbon emitters owe other countries? And what's the US and Australia's newest climate deal about? Welcome to the Climate Recap from the Beckosphere Climate Corner, your go-to place for international and US-based climate news. I'm Becky Hogue, a science writer. Today is Thursday, July 14th. Let's jump right into the news you need to start.
Listen up, chat. You need to go on this video, and then you need to click the like button. And if you haven't, you need to click the sub button. Okay? Do it or you'll get banned or something.
Start your day. Let's start with some...
Yeah, that's right. Most people who do stuff like this aren't interested in authentic analysis. They're interested in appearing correct by any means necessary. As someone who was trained to never do that, always to follow the evidence, even if it's inconvenient. It's so frustrating to see people like that get attention, whilst good, serious academics get ignored. It's not as if America's lacking political scientists there. There are tens of thousands who are excellent, who have 1/1000th of the 10,000th of the followers. Yeah, because that's boring. The truth is boring. And sometimes it's it's not convenient to the narrative where I'm trying to push here, you know?
Climate studies. A new study out of Dartmouth College looked at how much 5 of the top emitters owe the rest of the world for their emissions: the US, China, India, Russia, and Brazil. They are the first, second, 7th, 3rd, and 4th largest historical greenhouse gas emitters, respectively, according to a different analysis published last year. I kind of wish they would have added the European Union to this list, or maybe just like Germany or the UK, just because that's interesting. Anyways, the 5 emitters owe the rest of the world about $6 trillion in damages. This represents about 11% of the global GDP. China and the US together owe the rest of the world more than $3 trillion, the US accounting for $1.8 trillion of that lost global income from 1990 to 2014. This research is important because it backs up climate liability claims. The study went specific too. Like the US inflicted $14.1 billion in economic losses to Bangladesh over the last 25 years. China caused another $13.6 billion to Bangladesh. The US also inflicted $34 billion in damages to the Philippines between 1990 and 2014. The research also pushes back on the idea that this needs to be a fully international effort rather than focusing on individual countries. Certain countries like the US, China, and Russia can make a huge difference just by focusing on domestic decarbonization. Meanwhile, a different study shows that African countries will have to spend about 22% of their GDPs on climate adaptation despite being the least responsible for climate change. This easily dwarfs what percent of their GDP is spent on healthcare expenditures now. Eritrea is the most heavily impacted country, with climate adaptation expected to cost 30% of its GDP, which is about 6 times as much as it spends on its healthcare now. Adaptation comes in the form of things like building higher seawalls, capturing rainwater, switching to drought-tolerant crops, and investing in nature. These 2 studies together show why wealthy countries need to pay for climate reparations. Time for some climate victories. The think tank Ember found that EU climate plans are tentatively still on track, despite an influx of coal power to get away from Russian fossil fuels. Many European countries were taking coal plants offline to meet their climate goals, but they were still available as backups. And now that's what they're being used for. Ember analyzed where 4 countries increasing coal capacity, Germany, Netherlands, Austria, and France, would be in
with the
6 to 18
15 biddies.
months.
Thank you so
it
much.
found that the added emissions in 2023 would represent about 1.3% of 2021's emissions. So a pretty small amount. Now, obviously, we need this coal move to be as temporary as possible, but this is good to hear that it won't break the bank. But the EU needs to move faster on renewables, increasing energy efficiency, and preparing the grid to keep up with its climate goals. The US and Australia signed a new tech agreement to try to decrease China's overall hold in the clean energy market. The environmental ministers call it a net zero technology acceleration partnership and have put an emphasis on long duration storage, the global critical mineral supply, and grid digitization. That's pretty much all we know, but it's good to see the countries are taking this problem seriously. Speaking of the U.S., Idaho's Transportation Department started its public comment period for the National Electric Vehicle Investment Program. It plans to use the $28 million allotted by the bipartisan infrastructure bill to put charging stations every 50 miles on the interstate. The stations should roll out during the second half of 2023. In other Midwest news, Invenergy LLC announced it would increase a 780-mile high-voltage transmission line's capacity by 25% due to there being so much demand for wind power in the region.
Nice.
The line is planned to go from Kansas to Indiana, and it will be able to take 5,000 megawatts. The plan will also now boost its midpoint delivery at the Missouri converter fivefold to 2,500 megawatts. The $7 billion project will be constructed in 2 phases. On the East Coast, Massachusetts released its decarbonization roadmap. It plans.
What? You heard about this on the radio? Wait a minute. Aren't you our resident Zoomer? Coomer Police? Weren't you just calling me? Wait, okay, hold on. I might give myself away a little bit too much here. Radio? Aren't you a resident Zoomer?
To cut energy sector emissions by half by 2030 compared to 2005 levels, and the transportation sector emissions by 34% by 2030. This is all to get the state towards net zero by 2050. The plan has 2 main parts: electrification and energy decarbonization. On the electrification side, it calls for more EV adoption, reducing overall miles traveled, and utilizing heat pumps. On the decarbonization side, it sees more offshore wind and solar with energy storage. The plan requires all passenger vehicles and most mid and heavy-duty vehicle sales in the state to be electric by 2035. The roadmap states it would make sure the transition was equitable for lower and middle-income people. And we have to check out some climate fails. I hate to say it, but when it comes to the climate crisis, was Boris the best the Tories had to offer? Most of the 10 contenders that have stepped up so far are likely to weaken commitments to decarbonize the UK. For example, the Attorney General and the former Equities Minister have both signaled they'd ditch emissions targets in the name of energy crisis. Even the most centrist option, Tugendhat, said he would back clean energy, but won't specifically say that he would back net zero targets. It could just be an optics thing, but it's a little nerve-wracking. What's interesting is business groups representing Coca-Cola, Amazon, Unilever, and Lloyd's Banking Group have called on contenders to protect the net zero goal for the good of the economy. 56,000 jobs have already been created through the clean energy push, and the net zero plan released last year will likely bring another 440,000 jobs by the time it's in full swing. Meanwhile, General Electric cancelled a plan to build an offshore wind blade building factory in the UK due to lack of demand. This is a little surprising to me based on how many plans were just announced last week, but also these plans are still probably a year or 2 off from actually starting construction, so that's probably not soon enough. It's a shame about the factory though, because it would have provided hundreds of jobs to Northern England. And in the US, a new report by the Center for Effective Philanthropy determined that while 60% of foundations and nonprofits surveyed said they found climate change an extremely urgent problem, only 10% of them actually prioritized funding for the issue. Only 11% of—
Yeah, that's why relying just like on philanthropy. Yeah. As BEV prices fall, should be falling soon, it sounds doable.
Of leaders surveyed felt their organization was doing a very effective job at combating climate change, and 4% admitted their organizations were very ineffective in this area. The survey pool contained both climate/environment specific and general philanthropic organizations and nonprofits. About 33% were climate and environment focused. I have one chemical news story. A study by Planet Tracker reveals the top banks that are investing in petrochemical operations in the U.S. Gulf states. Over 7,400 financial institutions support the operations through equity, debt, and financing. They're led by BlackRock, Vanguard, and Berkshire Hathaway. The worst offenders for polluting the surrounding air and water are Olin Corp, Convestro, Valero Energy, and BASF, which account for 75% of the total chemicals released in that region. Places near petrochemical sites have a higher rate of respiratory issues and cancer, among many other conditions. If you want to learn more about that, I talked about places like Cancer Alley in a deep dive on the Beckosphere a little while ago. I'll leave a link in the source list below. Let's head back to the private sector for one more climate victory. Walmart formed an agreement with electric vehicle maker Canoo to build 4,500 pill-shaped delivery vehicles. Walmart has pledged to beat net zero emissions by 2040. And that was your climate news for Thursday, July 14th. If you like the work I do, please follow this podcast, give it a 5-star rating, leave a review, and consider checking out the Beckosphere Climate Corner YouTube channel.
Based. All right. All right, folks, go and do the thing. All right. Hold up, Cancer Alley? Yeah. Yeah, you have you heard of that? Ah, shoot. Oh, I just said based.
When I was an environmental science major in college, I knew that there was the plastic issue and there was climate change and there was a myriad of other issues. But I personally thought, you know what, climate change is the biggest problem right now. I see a lot of my friends focusing on plastic pollution and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, you know, I want to solve that issue too, but I need to focus on climate change. Oh, did I not think about how plastic was made? Yeah, they are directly connected. 99% of plastics comes from fossil fuels.
Yep.
In order to solve climate change, we kind of need to solve the plastic issue too. Hey y'all, it's Becky here from the Beckosphere, where we talk about climate news and solutions. You've entered a climate deep dive. And this time we are going to go
okay, so what she's referring to is there are certain areas in this country where there's sites of petrochemical plants, and well, it's been linked to cancer. Yes, there's way more than just one of the Cancer Alley, but there's one specifically, and I think it's actually in Louisiana. That's the one that has like the famous name here. There should be a link to the video in that source list. Yeah, I think this is the video. But this is what I'm talking about, or sorry, what you're talking about. Yeah, this is what it is. I think it's this one. If you want to check out the wait. I think it is that one. No. Go back.
When I was environmental science.
In the plastics video source list. Oh, plastic video source list. Stop. Dang it. Come back. Oi. I know what climate change is. Stop it. Okay. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, here we are. This is a video that I've seen.
This is...
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember this video. I remember this guy, too. Viv401... C401, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Yeah, I remember this video, actually. Yeah, if you just want like a visual, yeah, it's I figured, if y'all want to check this out, there's the video. There's like a ProPublica thing. Really nasty stuff.
Room, had anybody in their house die of cancer?
Yeah.
Everybody stand up.
Someone just passed away 3 houses down from cancer.
Because I had one friend, I went and visit her on 4th Street on a Friday. And that Monday morning, I got up, I said, I'm going to go see Mary Alice. I got a call, she was dead. She died of cancer. She had 3 other sisters. She had 2 brothers that died with cancer.
Yeah. Come on.
I think who I know that died that didn't die from cancer since I moved back here. We have a minimum standoff.
Jesus Christ. We had a neighborhood like that in our city. The air was so corrosive that the city gave residents a subsidy to wash their cars, or the dust in the air would literally eat through the car's chassis. Jesus. Yikes.
Which is like 500 feet between a plant, an oil well, and your front door. That's how close they can be.
Martha Huckabee.
That's wild.
and Betty
500
Pickham
feet.
Live in one such fence-lined community in St. Rose, just blocks over from a 1,000-acre International Matex Tanks terminal plant.
And they're right here, and there's no buffer. There needs to be a buffer. They should be miles away, you know?
But this is just too close to somebody's yard.
Unfortunately, this is where our house is. So in a sense, you are trapped because you can't pick your house up and move it somewhere else.
They say they both felt the effects of a 10-day-long hydrogen sulfide release from a Shell asphalt plant in 2014.
That smell lasted for like 36, like I don't know the exact amount of time, but it was more than a day. And we had to bring the kids inside because it wasn't going away.
Tests performed by the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality at the time found levels of hydrogen sulfide to be high, either at or exceeding the levels the EPA says could cause harm.
But I was having headaches, which I don't get.
And within a week, Dawson was out in the driveway vomiting white foam out of his mouth.
It had my mind where I couldn't function.
I was having very dizzy spells, and my ears were ringing, and nausea, and my husband wasn't feeling well. We just were not feeling well.
So it was bad. You was nauseous, vomiting. My grandchildren, they were sick, and we couldn't figure, we just thought it was a stomach virus. Nobody knew what was going on.
I couldn't put it together, and I got a knock on the door, and that's how I figured it out. Ann from the Bucket Brigade had somebody knock on my door and explain to me what had happened.
Louisiana Bucket Brigade is just one of many environmental activist organizations in the area. They say their mission is to create and inform healthy society that hastens the transition from fossil fuels. The groups have formed an alliance under the name Green Army, led by former Lieutenant General Russell Honoré.
37 years, 3 months, and 3 days I served in the Army, and I served as a commander. I commanded everything from a platoon to an army.
Honoré gained national attention for leading Joint Task Force Katrina.
And I'd never seen such destruction before other than pictures from World War II. That's what it kind of reminds you of. The coast of Mississippi was absolutely destroyed.
He now helps lead the Green Army to fight for environmental justice in Louisiana. The group says that by combining forces between local and national groups in the area, they can make a bigger impact.
What we do is fight pollution.
This guy's based. Nice. It's caused by a foundry for the cast engine blocks. The foundry has been since closed, and surrounding communities could almost be considered green with all the renovations the city did. Wow. This is the type of stuff that makes me depressed. Yeah, it is depressing. It's the reality.
Advocacy for clean air, clean water, and clean land, and protect the health of our people. That's what we do.
But activists from all over say that taking on Louisiana's government and some of the biggest industries in the country is hard work.
You know, Kennedy said the world just isn't fair, but here, it's not just not fair, it's crooked, and it's corrupt. Because big oil has hijacked our democracy in Louisiana.
Our government stands more with these companies that put money into their pockets.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, I've seen this video before. This is just wild. Unfreaking believable. Yeah, based boomer. This one is probably going to be a small, just a quick one. Trump said he's made up his mind about 2024. This big decision is timing of the announcement. So it looks like he, it looks like he really is going to run, based on what I'm seeing here. He told the big decision, he told New York Magazine in an interview published on Thursday, is to whether announce before or after the midterm elections. So that's basically when, he's basically saying that I don't know when, but I am going to announce. In which case, well. Well, in my own mind, I've already made that decision, so nothing factors in anymore. In my own mind, I've already made that decision. Yeah, he said, do I go before or after? That will be my big decision. Yeah, you know it's bad when an army vet compares petrochemical companies to Al-Qaeda. I mean, it's essentially, yeah. I mean, instinct. The reality is, like, these companies are just messing with people and single-handedly destroying in lives, countless of lives, poisoning the water, poisoning people's air and land. Yeah, he has to finish his speaking tour first. That's right. He also was worried. He also said he wasn't worried about other potential 2024 GOP candidates that he didn't consider Ron DeSantis a rival. I wonder if he'll just ask him to be his VP. That's right. Go get that money, $4,000 a pop. Okay? $4,000 a pop. Listen, chat. I'm gonna need you to reach deep, okay? I need 4K. Okay? I'm gonna put up a little donation thing. I need $4,000. Okay? Listen. 4,000. It's gonna be well worth it. So I can tell Donald Trump himself. Okay? So I can tell Donald Trump himself not to run. Okay? That is my promise to you. No, I'm kidding. The $4,000 is not going to get you a meet and greet with Donald Trump. You might get Dinesh D'Souza. Multiple sources told The Hill earlier that Trump and his allies have discussed making an announcement about his campaign as early as this summer. Yeah, so it looks like he's intending to run. Yeah. Tritarium. Thank you for the follow. It really does look like he's intending to run. I'm actually not sure what that's gonna look like. If the Democratic Party is so bent on running Joe Biden again, man, that's a coin flip, folks. That's a coin flip. I don't know. There's a lot of different factors. Zao96, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. There's a lot of different factors as to how this is going to play out. The whole Roe v. Wade, thing might energize some folks, but the midterms don't look good. The midterms don't look good. If the midterms don't look good, then the 2024 presidential election doesn't look good. Yeah, just do what Trump does. Promise him $1 million and then just don't pay. Yeah, I could just do that, right? I mean, you know, from one grifter to another, I'm sure he'll understand, right? From one con artist to another, I'm sure he'll understand, right? Based on how bad the Dems are doing, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Coomer Police. I'm leaning on the side that the Dems are not going to do well in the midterms, and if that's the case, then the presidential 2024 thing is done. Is pretty effed, I think. We'll see. But who knows? The anti-Donald Trump sentiment might be strong enough to prevent him from winning again. But if the GOP runs somebody like Ron DeSantis, that's a different story. That's a different story and a much scarier outcome. A Republican strategist told The Hill that Trump announcing sooner would be beneficial for the former president, but hurt the party because it would support Democrats' arguments tying the party to Trump. I mean, they're all MAGA. Would you ever think you would see a Trump DeSantis ticket? That might very well end up being. So we might get both ends of the nightmare. Just boom. We might just get we might just get the double whammy. I'm concerned about the Supreme Court case on voting rights in the fall. That's gonna be, oh boy, that's another one to look for. That's also gonna throw another wrench into how things go. Because, well, if the Supreme Court runs the way it's been running, we might see democracy essentially just be completely just kneecapped as a concept. I was saying with this with $27, this election is definitely from an objective standpoint shaping up to be quite interesting because it posits traditional economic theory of mobilization versus salient issue mobilization, which in this case puts economic downturns against abortion. It would be curious which one turns out to be the winner. Too early to tell for 24, but the hint will come this year. Yeah. Essentially, like, how much do people? I mean, because like just speaking from like electoralism, like just inserting my electoralism brain on, how much people care about like economic issues it's huge. That is a big part of it. But never underestimate how angry something like abortion can mobilize people. Which should. We'll see. It's just a matter of what is worse, the Dem selection screw up or the GOP's Trumpster fire? Yeah, well, never underestimate the Democratic Party's ability to shoot themselves in the foot. You know, like if there's a way to screw this up, the Dems will find it. That's the issue. I wish people realize that climate change is an economic issue. Yeah, it's an economic issue. It's a healthcare issue. It's an ecological issue. It's tied into everything. Our economy, it runs on the ability to be able to get resources, and if those resources aren't able to be obtained, like food, then things get affected downstream from that, right? If you can't grow crops, you can't have a job, because if you're a farmer or you're someone who grows crops, you can't feed yourself, you can't export, you're screwed. If the place you live in is uninhabitable, you're pretty much economically done. You have to move. If you can't obtain water, if you can't obtain food. That's a good wish. Hold on to it. I don't think you can underestimate the power of women voters when it comes to identity as women, but with the abortion triggers into action, but the economy is powerful. It's also more than often brings rationality of voters. They blame people for things when it's not their fault. In the case of them, for an economic crisis, it's global. Yeah. And that's the game, the political football, as you will. Right? If a Republican is in power, they'll try to blame everything on the Republican and whatever. In this case, people just don't understand how complex, or don't want to understand, or are too I don't want to say narrow-minded, but are too easily swayed by such myopic analysis of something like inflation. I've had arguments with people in this channel telling me that inflation is just a product of government overspending. That's not exactly how it works. Inflation, just like all economic stuff, has a myriad of different factors. You can't just tell me that, this economic, problem that we're seeing here, it's just definitely this. Anybody that tells you otherwise doesn't understand economics. Basic logical thinking makes brains hurts. And Biden's numbers don't look fantastic. No, they don't. I mean, and let's be honest, things aren't great, okay? Things aren't great. I love this channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I've been trying to catch the stream for a while before it was early because I'm on the West Coast. Yeah, now we're on the evening stream, so, you're more than welcome. We gotta schedule another collaboration. But yeah, it is super, super meta, right? Considering, it's interesting, considering, most of the community, is kind of like a staple to catch up on climate news using your channel. Trump may also be motivated to announce on the earliest side to reinforce his argument that the work of the House committee investigating the insurrection is politically motivated. Yes. Yes. By definition, it is a political thing. Yes. We've gotta do a thing for that. You know what? maybe if you're free, Monday, actually any of these upcoming weekdays, Monday, all the way from Monday to Thursday, if you're free, in any one of those days, and just let me know, and I will remember, and we will bring you on. How meta can we be? Yeah, this is as meta as it gets, fam. Oh man, Fox News. Yeah. Washington Post reported on Thursday that 2 advisors said Trump is looking at announcing in September, and one said there's a 70% chance to announces before the midterms. I could go on your stream after my stream on Monday and have a super Twitch tape. All right, that sounds great. So that way, folks, hey, jot this down, all right? So, first of all, join the Beckosphere, and then just come over here. You get a 2-for-1. Look at that. A super Twitch day. I saw some data on the investigation a while back, and it was broadly concluded that what I think a lot of people suspected Dems are avidly watching. I think Trump is guilty, while Republicans are tuning out and think he's innocent, which is wild to me. Like, I had this argument yesterday. It largely makes the whole thing a bit of a show because nobody's changing their mind because partisans be partisan. Yeah, but like, what blows my mind is I had an argument with somebody yesterday who, like, I don't know if they were just trying to be contrarian with me, but I was trying to make the point that, like, yes, there are people who there's half the country who thinks, in this case, this dude's innocent, while being like a plethora of evidence to suggest otherwise, and like, yeah, but they feel the same way about you because you're like a left-leaning person or whatever, and it's like, no, your feelings about something does not really make it true or not, at all. At all. You can tell me all day long that you believe that 1 + 1 is 3. It's not going to make it true. Okay? And if half the country is still living in a world where 1 + 1 = 3, I can't help that, okay? Then they're wrong. They're wrong. They're wrong. They're wrong. They're wrong. Fox News feels that it needs a rebranding. It should be entertainment, really. But yeah. Howdy. At this point, I feel like we're entering the realm of direct action. To me, it looks more and more like voting equals thoughts and prayers. I don't think it's like that. But I do think that direct action should be a thing. Like, that shouldn't be, thrown out the window. What? No. What? Direct action should never be off the table. It should be continuous. Organizing, community building, mutual aid. None of that should be like a thing that we need to push to the side and be like, yeah. The only thing that's gonna fix this is if you just vote, and that's it. No, voting is a tool. Voting is but one tool in the toolbox. This is not mutually exclusive, nor should it be ignored. Nor should something like direct action or mutual aid or whatever be separate, right? You don't. Like, there's no, what is it called, dichotomy, where it has to be one or the other. The mistake you make is thinking that evidence matters. This is a post-truth world now. True, the people make their own truth, and that's a super scary thing to consider. Yeah, and I agree that, I guess that maybe that's on my, okay, maybe that's my bad. For maybe I was being too harsh on that person. Maybe that was their point. Which if they would have expressed it in that manner, I might have agreed with them. But I would then respond with the same thing. Like, the truth is the truth is the truth. 1 + 1 is going to equal 2. You can tell me it equals 3. You can firmly believe that with your heart, mind, and soul. But it's not going to equal 3. It's going to equal 2. And, I mean, that's just the way it is. And which Surfer McGritty then said, yeah, like, how can we can only go so far with somebody who's believing the grass is blue when indeed it's green, you know? Yeah, but I would say that we should have never. There's entering the realm of direct action. No, that should have never stopped. That should never be off the table. That's how things get like. That's an ultra important thing. I can try and find it somewhere. I'm sure that they did camp, but maybe there was a third. Oh, this disinformation and misinformation is getting thick. Yeah, it's a problem. I agree. I don't think I worded my thought process correctly. No worries. No worries. No worries. Yeah. So, like, the point is, I think, James is also correct. Jesus Christ. The idea that we live in a post-truth world is wild, okay? The idea that we have people like Tim Pool, people like this guy, with 5.75 million subscribers. Yeah. We've got people, a good chunk of this country, not believing in reality, not grounded in reality. What's wrong with Russell Brand? Oh my God, I had an argument about this. The whole point of my stream yesterday was just like being angry at Russell Brand. Because he has like conspiratorial cult leader nonsense. He literally looks and sounds like a cult leader. And I don't mean in appearance. I mean in the way his rhetoric is being employed. He sounds like a cult leader. And he's incredibly conspiratorial. Like, look, I haven't even watched this, I think.
You make vacation.
Hey! I don't have money to vacate, okay? Stop trying to get my hopes up. Stop, I don't have a Discover card either. Okay, here we go.
The mainstream media will tell you that the Dutch farmer protesters are about environmental irresponsibility. But could it be that this is the Great Reset in action?
What the heck was that? What the heck was that? Yeah, when I mean conspiracies, I mean like outlandish claims like, there's a global conspiracy of the World Economic Forum and Carl Schwab's or whatever his name is out to... this is nonsense. That's what I mean about conspiracies. I don't mean like the literal definition of like there's people conspiring, usually oligarchs who are very powerful to maintain that power. Wow, cool. No, yeah, like I get that. That's true. We know that. Memo. I mean like conspiratorial thinking, like Alex Jones level. What the with WTF? That's literally Russell Brand now. I 10 seconds, okay, to explain what the problem is here. I'm 10 seconds into this video, and we're already talking about conspiracy theories of the World Economic Forum or whatever nonsense. Never mind the environmental stuff. I don't think...
Hello there, you 5.7 million Awakening Wonders. Thank you for joining us.
5 million awakening wonder. Like, what is this language? This is some cult leader behavior, okay?
On this great voyage towards truth. If you don't subscribe yet, subscribe now and turn on your notification bell. We make a video every single day, and in order to use the algorithm, we have to ensure that you participate with us. Who knows?
Yeah, and you have to join my participate in the algorithm. What? To make sure that you get the truth, right? Because I'm the arbiter of truth. Oh man, Jesus Christ. The IMF and the World Bank are a conspiracy against poor countries. Yeah, but not in the sense of like the way I mean when I talk about conspiracy theories. I mean, obviously, you know, we concede objective problems or damage the IMF has done. Yeah, that one always gets me. The crow fart. I don't even know why he includes that. Yeah, it's this guy again because somebody asked the question, okay? Somebody asked a question about what's wrong with Russell Brand. So, here we are. It feels like he's going through his Reddit/ATM edgy stage. Yeah, like he spent like all of COVID, like the lockdowns, in just too much into internet brain.
If big tech platforms treat people that convey radical news in the way that they should. At our first ever community event this weekend, I had a fantastic...
Yeah, our first community event. Not a cult. Not a cult. Oh man, okay. That's the point I'm trying to get you to drop, to use that word engage with each point, but using conspiracy labels starts on the same path as Democrat and party language. Yeah, I guess, but calling his points the BS that they are, but try to avoid using the label conspiracy theory. It does not help in my experience. I guess, I guess, I mean, like, I'm just using colloquial terms because that's like the terms like that people are familiar with. This is akin, the type of rhetoric and logic. Yeah, no, of course, sure, and I'm sure that there's like even with propaganda, that's how it works. But I'm trying to illustrate the level of being divorced from reality that we're witnessing here, and it is akin. Analogous to Alex Jones kind of level of just like claims that are not based in reality, claims that are fabricated using small grains of truth and then just blown up or zeroed in depending on what narrative you want to spin. Maple Leaf Dragon with 200 biddies. Gotta run and kill others in a virtual arena to satisfy my human bloodlust. True and real, especially true and real. Right, so that's what I'm trying to say when I use these terms. If you want me to be specific, like that's the point I'm making. The point I'm making is to illustrate just how divorced from reality this person is, and how analogous or akin to like the levels of like delusion that we're witnessing here from like that you can expect from like people like Alex Jones. And that's more to the point, I guess. But 40 seconds in, and we're already talking about, you know, the Great Reset. Okay? We're 40 seconds in. We've talked about the Great Reset, the World Economic Forum, and how awesome it is to join his live events with his community. Not a cult.
Time. I wish you'd been there. It was fantastic. Let me know in the comments if you were there. I spoke to Vandana Shiva, the great activist and scholar, a woman who ain't afraid to bring down the globalist agenda, a woman who ain't afraid.
Ooh, I'm gonna be charitable. I'm gonna be charitable, and I'm going to assume that Russell Brand does not mean the JQ. I'm going to be charitable and assume that that's not what he means. But yikes, could there be possibly a better way of phrasing things? It's also in that mindset of he means capitalism when he means globalist agenda, I believe. Yeah, he's talking about it in the context of the World Economic Forum, blah 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 blah. But like, man, there's words that you can use. There are words that you can use that don't like perk people's ears up, you know? I think he means like the world order kind of thing. Yeah, this is like analogous to Alex Jones thing. This is exactly where this is going. But like, oh man. Oh, Russell. I'm fairly sure he's anti-capitalist. I don't know. He might be. It's hard to gauge this guy. It's hard to gauge with this guy. No, Alex Jones is not a libertarian. No, Alex Jones is not a libertarian. I think Alex Jones is pretty staunchly far right. Google it. He's not shy about it. Yeah, I've heard him make anti-capitalist arguments, but libertarian is far right. There's degrees to this. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't. It's hard to believe. I don't know.
Afraid to call out Bill Gates and other technocratic globalist tyrants. These are her words, not mine.
Yeah, I love how he tries to distance himself then from it. He's like, these are. I'm just saying what this person said, not me. What? Okay. We're 1 minute in. We're 1 minute in. I found out today the libertarian, supposed to mean hardline socialist. The word was stolen by the Libertarian Party in the U.S. A Spanish Civil War podcast. Yeah, I heard something similar. The origins of libertarian is more like left. Essentially, what it was originally is akin to kind of like euphemism or similarities to anarchism. It's used to be used in that context. Yeah. Technocrat, that's my favorite narrator dude voice in a sci-fi exploration game. Anyways, I think I've demonstrated the problem with Russell Brand. Yes? Can we move on? Don't use anarchism like a pejorative. What? That's not what I mean. No. I said it's like anarchism. Like the old original use or meaning of libertarian was something to akin to like anarchism kind of. I mean, am I wrong? Hold on. Now, great. Now you guys are gonna... Origins of libertarianism. You guys. You guys are really gonna make me do this right now. A libertarian socialist is also an anarchist. Yeah, that's exactly my point. Thank you. It's literally like akin or similar, adjacent to anarchism. Yes. Ayn Rand is probably the origin of like the co-opted version the mutated version that we see here. Libertarianism is like diet anarchism. It's something akin to that. Many decades later, libertarian was used by a French libertarian communist, Joseph Dejac. Okay, whatever. Joseph whatever his name is, to mean a form of left-wing politics that had been frequently used to refer to anarchism. Yes. Yeah. If you come at the king, you best not miss. I know my terms. I know my terms. Look. This is what I'm talking about. In the mid-20th century, American right libertarian proponents of anarcho-capitalism and minarchism co-opted the libertarian to advocate laissez-faire capitalism and strong property, private property rights, such as land, infrastructure, and natural resources. That is dominant form of libertarianism in the U.S., where it advocates civil liberties, natural law, negative rights, free market capitalism, and the NAP. Libertarians believe in property. Anarchists do not necessarily. Not really. Anarchists are like about federations of communes coming together, essentially, right? To mean many decades later, libertarian was used a term used by French libertarian communist Joseph, whatever his name is, to mean a form of left-wing politics that has been frequently used to refer to anarchism and libertarian socialism. In the mid-19th century, with the modern development of right libertarian ideologies such as anarcho-capitalism and minarchism co-opting the term libertarian in the mid-20th century to instead advocate for laissez-faire. Yeah. Anarchism simply means that there's no violence enforcing social order, no hierarchies, no unjust hierarchies. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Okay. The principle of right and of government. What is property? The TLDR right-wingers aren't even original to mug up their own labels. Yeah, they just co-opted libertarian, generally. Alright, this sounds like a lot of theory. Property considered as a natural right, occupation, and civil law as efficient base of property and definitions. According to the Declaration of Rights, published as a preface to the Constitution of 93, property is the right to enjoy and dispose at will of one's goods, one's income, and the fruit of one's labor and industry. Like, one could interpret that as the workers owning the fruits of their own labor, the workers owning the rights to their own stuff. Anyways, I'm not getting too much into theory. But libertarianism I've always viewed as an ideology that pushes the freedom of the individual, while anarchism is more about the freedom of the collective. Well, anarchism is a collective ideology. Like if you view it in the framework of that, individualist versus collectivism or whatever, yeah. I would say both libertarianism and anarchism are opposed to kind of oppressive vertical force, but the reason I phrase it about individual versus collective is usually examples of anarchism are collective enterprises, communities, whereas libertarianism is historically always about the individual rights to X things, to own and act. I think it's confusing because conservatism is leading to fascism, while Republicans are leaving more to libertarianism, but both are being co-opted by the right despite being vastly different goals. Yeah, but I think at this point, like, they're all like, because labels and words don't mean anything anymore, a lot of these folks blend. A lot of these folks blend these definitions, and this only benefits the authoritarian, and that's basically it. A lot of these like folks on the right who claim to be libertarian, who claim to be whatever, they always end up benefiting the authoritarian elements of the Republican Party. You should read this at some point. I highly recommend this reading. God dang it, Memo, you're trying to make me read on top of everything? What? You're trying to actually make me read? And on top of that, you're trying to make me read theory? I'm going to run as a fascist and destroy all left-wing movements simply by forcing them to describe themselves to each other. Oh. Steve Easier, dad. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, like if you want to just like single-handedly destroy the left, first of all, get them all together in a room and then ask each one which is the best left-wing philosophy. Go. Brother, I'm literally Memo for the record. That's true. And I'm a difficult truth. I'm never wrong. Just like Republicans cherry-pick the U.S. Constitution, what about other federal laws? But the Republicans love tax laws. Yes, they love tax laws if they benefit the wealthy and business interests. Got a shower to remove the gym stink? The gym. I always find it curious that a lot of self-proclaimed libertarians in the U.S. reside in states that are basically propped up by federal resources. There's a kind of funny irony to it. Yeah. Libertarianism is a meme. Libertarianism in the iteration that exists today, and colloquially speaking, generally means a kind of like a laissez-faire right-wing kind of thing. It is a giant meme. It's a giant meme. There's even something called socialist libertarianism. It's also referred to anarcho-socialism, anarcho-free socialism, stateless socialism. Yeah, like all these things are very similar and akin to each other when it comes to like one of the iterations of libertarianism. Anyways, that's just me fighting because I love to A, argue, and B, I like definitions. All right, thank you, Russell, for explaining to us what libertarianism is. I appreciate that, Russell Brand. Thank you. Hello, I'm a Marxist, Trotskyist, anarchist, socialist libertarian. Hi. Ferris Bueller warns about Ubers and damage control here. Nice. All right, folks. We got one more. Texas sues to block Biden from requiring doctors to provide abortions in medical emergencies. Even like this is how like vindictive and horrible these people are. The Republican Party. Texas on Thursday asked the federal court to block the Biden administration's requirement that physicians and hospitals provide abortions in medical emergencies. Yep. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, in a lawsuit filed in the District Court of North District of Texas, argued that federal law does not confer a right to an abortion. That's not that's not the argument. The argument is that you need to perform life-saving medical procedures, and if that requires an abortion, then so be it. You need to. The lawsuit comes 3 days after Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra warned hospitals and physicians that they are required to provide abortions in medical emergencies where it's necessary to treatment to protect the life of a pregnant woman. Becerra said hospitals and physicians who refuse to comply could have their medical provider agreements terminated and face financial penalties. Becerra said the Emergency Medical Treatment and Active Labor Act pre-exempts state laws that restrict abortion in case of emergency situations, but Paxton said that the law does not mandate any specific treatment, arguing that the HHS's requirement is unlawful, unconstitutional, and unenforceable. No, because if that's the only remedy to a medical emergency, then it has to happen. Or else you're risking that person to die, which Republicans are comfortable with, by the way. Abortions became illegal, yes. Texas another law passed another law in 2021 that will go into effect in the coming weeks, which makes performing an abortion a felony, punishable by up to life in prison. Yep. They want to jail doctors for life. They want to make them felons, which means they can't vote. The ban makes an exception if a licensed physician determines that the woman faces a life-threatening physical condition. It says performing an abortion is a felony punishable by up to life. So does that mean if you do a self procedure, if you do a self-abortion, are you going to be punishable? Yeah, they're literally going to try to put people in jail for life. Yeah. Although most of the state abortion bans make exceptions for when a woman's life is endangered, the U.S. health officials worry that doctors could wait too long to treat an ectopic pregnancy and complications from miscarriages while awaiting the legal guidance. Yeah, like this is some nonsense, really. Pro-life? Really? Unfreaking believable. Well, they're going to make performing abortions a felony, so as far as I can tell, it doesn't specify. So if it's not the doctor and you do it yourself, I guess could be looking at a felony that is punishable for up to life in prison. You know, it's not really a fallacious, slippery slope, right? I mean, they're gonna jail people, and they're gonna put them in prison for life. Alio with the 10 biddies. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate that. That is the Republican Party nowadays, folks. They're gonna start jailing people for life. Yep. Well, folks, unfortunately, that is all the time I have today. We made through everything. We got through everything that we needed to get through. I appreciate all you guys hanging out here today. Thank you to all the biddies. Maple Leaf Dragon. Alio. Thank you to all the new follows. Viv C41, Tritarium, Za96, Stevie Zirda, and thank you to the Beccasphere for that tier 1 sub, Dacapolion with that prime sub for 10 months. Thank you so much for all the support. You guys are what makes this channel grow. I appreciate it. Make sure you spread the word far and wide that this is a chill space to be. Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us for Saturday Catterdays around noon Eastern Time. Make sure you hit the big red subscribe button on the YouTubes. It does help us out, okay? It does help us out. It takes 5 seconds. Join us on the Discord to keep up with the channel. Thank you, Valpo, for the follow. Folks, if you hit that follow button, you do get 5 free emotes, okay? Including Bakita the cat. How could you say no? How could you say no to that, huh? I appreciate all the support. You guys are what makes this channel grow. Please, again, spread the word far and wide everywhere to anybody and anybody and everybody that this is the place to be. 5 p.m. Eastern Time. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya. Yeah, that's right. Political supervillains. All right, folks, hang tight. We are heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.